But at the end of the day, we know that we have each other's back. Because it's so important for us to have each other's back to be successful in our role. It's easy to get sidetracked, and it's easy for people to distract you, right? We've been dealing with lots of distractions nationally. So those distractions can take us off our path and off our journey. So as we continue to move forward and continue to crash the ceilings, let's know that it's a sisterhood. That's important. That it's important for us to work together, learn from each other, and let's support each other. So welcome to Randolph. We are extremely honored to have you here, and thank you to the Massachusetts Women Coalition. Thank you very much.
I would be remiss if I didn't also just recognize that we also have Ivan Gordon, who is the president of the school committee in the town of Randolph. And I know that we have a chance to just a heads up, when we get to each of you, we're going to introduce yourselves, your town, and we're asking you to just identify just one particular priority that you are passionate about or working with in your own town or city. The next person is my partner in crime. Where is Shioma? Oh, there she is. And so Shioma is with the coalition. She is the regional Eastern Region VP. You're going to hear a little bit more from our president, Sylvia Boo, about MAWOCC and our goals and our objectives. But we're broken into regions, and we're working real hard to be statewide. And so in this region, it gives me a pleasure to introduce my partner, my friend, and I have to keep calling her partner because she keeps saying that I'm like the vice president, and I'm not. She's the vice president, and she'll come on out.
Yeah, we're still working it out. I'll win it at the end. So good evening, everybody. Good evening. Yeah. So I want us to do a little roll call. I'm hoping that it works out in my favor. So who is here from the Central Region? Make some noise! It sounds like people will clap for y'all to make some noise. Who's here from the Western Region? It's traffic. We'll blame it on traffic. They're coming. They're on their way. We got one person. Two. They're on their way. What about the Eastern Region? So I want to welcome everybody. Third time. My name is Chioma Unaji. I'm like Mary said, I'm the Vice President of the Eastern Region. I'm very excited to hold this position. I'm join hands with women nominated in the Eastern Region, but we're going to pull out the state. It's a long time coming. And it's an opportunity for us to lift our voices. It's an opportunity for us to be able to speak to our troops, and speak to what we need, and be in a position to make it happen. So I'm excited to be on this journey with you all, with the women who I sit with on the board. So I just wanted to highlight a couple of things for you as it relates to MAWOCC. First, our vision. I know you see the vision here, but I want to highlight that we're not just an organization that's thinking about general issues around women of color. We ground all our work in issues of sexism and racism and the way in which they intersect. Because we know that at the core of the disparities that we see, whether in education, in finance, in health, at the core of those disparities are the way sexism and racism are planted in our systems, and how that sort of dictates what our position is, what we have access to, what we're able to do. So I want to be clear about who we are, so that you know that we're about social justice and we're about human rights as we continue to do our work. We also see ourselves as, we know that when women are uplifted, that our communities are uplifted. So it's not just about us, right? We have people who we're bringing along with us, whether it's our partners, whether it's our brothers, whether it's our children. We as women of color are about building our communities also. And the way that MAWOCC does this is through several platforms, what we call platforms. Each one of the platforms, there's a statewide leader. Mary is the one who is the statewide leader for our politics platform. We have a health and wellness platform, a criminal justice platform, an economic, thank you, Diane, thank you. An economic empowerment platform, and an education justice platform. Did I get them all right? Mm-hmm. Y'all have a cheat sheet here, so y'all can check. Got them all right? All right. So as we go through the evening, you will hear more about the platforms. You will meet some of the statewide leaders. So we really are excited about you engaging in these platforms. And the way that it works is that the platforms set sort of a general goal that we want to achieve across the state. But like I said, we're about social justice. So we are organizations about social justice. We really focus on the grassroots efforts that need to happen and what the voices of people are saying, what the voices of women of color are saying. Whether it's a woman of color sitting in the courthouse, whether it's a woman of color sitting in the school system, whether it's a woman of color sitting as a doctor, or whether it's that woman of color who's sitting in the jail, right? All women of color voices matter. And so in order to do that, we focus on how do we bring voices, uplift voices to our regions. So even though we have this general goal, each one of the regions have the autonomy to achieve that goal in a way that makes sense, right? So for us in the Eastern region, first I want to make sure that everybody's invited. If you're in the Eastern region, please join us. We meet bi-monthly, like all of the regions meet bi-monthly. And so for us in the Eastern region, we have a couple of initiatives that we are working on now. One actually came out of the concern of a woman, a black woman, who is actually our regional leader for education in the Eastern region. And the concern came out of actually her daughter. Her daughter saying, Mom, there's an issue at the bus stations where my peers and I are being harassed by older men, right? So as they're driving by, they're whistling, they're hollering, doing whatever. And that's before and after the schools. So as a regional group, we said we want to do something about that, so we created hashtag listening to our girls. And this is really about giving a platform for our young girls to say what's going on, to say what's on their mind. And for us, as older women, senior women, wise women, I don't know how to say it. Okay, so for us to sort of give support and guide, right? Because we want to make sure these young women are leading and we're supporting, okay? Another initiative that we have going on right now is that we're actually doing a lot of work with millennials. We have 2 millennial leaders. And we have this opportunity to actually collaborate with the Women of Color Collective at Harvard School of Public Health and Chan School to do a big initiative, a big event in September. And the idea of that event is that we really want to bring women of color who are on the campuses in Greater Boston to meet women of color who are professionals in Greater Boston, to create that networking and that connection, right? Because often we have women who come from out of Boston and they feel as though Boston, there's nothing to do, there's no way to connect with other women. So Women of Color Collective and the Eastern region are thinking about how do we create an event in which women can actually come together. So those are a couple of initiatives that we are working on and that we're very excited about. I do have to do one pitch, because if I don't, Brenda will get me. So Brenda Jenkins, out of Central Region, is the statewide leader of the Health and Wellness Platform. And this Saturday, from 10 to 12 at the YMCA in Worcester, we're going to be having statewide meeting for the Health and Wellness Platform. So I want to ask you to please join us for that too, as you're joining your various regional groups, and as you're joining MAWOCC as a bigger organization. Join our movement because we're going to go far, and we want to go far.
I just also want to add that Shiona just recently met with a group of women on the Cape in Miami, and some of them were going to try to make it today, but they had called me earlier and just was not able to do so. So although we talk about regions, and regions are large, we're also trying to make sure that within those regions that we try to connect with as many as we can. So on the Cape, there was a meeting, Celia and myself met with a group of women there, and a few from Martha's Vineyard also joined us. So we are continuing to try to grow what is called a statewide, and that is not an easy feat, but again, you'll hear from our president, and she'll tell you a little bit of our successes along the way. I also just want to do a shout out if you, I know Shiona went over the mission and the vision, but there is material on the table. Please make sure if you didn't take any of that coming in and you grab a little bit of that going out. Our applications are there. We absolutely want to stay connected with our elected officials that are in different cities and towns throughout Massachusetts. One of the things, the goals that we have, and that is we cannot do this alone. And one of the initiatives that we have is voter registration, and we also want to make sure that we partner with other organizations. So to do the same, we don't see ourselves trying to do it all because it cannot happen when we do it all. And in addition, we are working with the Massachusetts Women's Political Caucus. Now, being the platform chair for politics, and although I use the word politics loosely, it really is about trying to make sure that we get more of individual women like yourselves, those of you who are elected officials, into office. Get you to continue to grow in that seat, stay in that seat, and maybe even move on and do more. We understand that aspect policies. We understand aspect budgets, and what goes into your school system, what goes into the programs within your town. We understand that. But we know that we, again, cannot do this alone. So it is a pleasure when I got to know Gail Jackson, the executive, was on the board and president of the board of directors for the Massachusetts Women's Political Caucus. And when we sat and we chatted, we really began to realize that we had some common goals. So I'm going to ask Gail to come up. She is also the president of Jackson Communication, a public relations, marketing, and communication consulting firm which provides strategic communication programs, new business development, planning campaigns, and fundraising for public and private companies. She serves in a number of executive positions in the public and the private sector. She is a supporter of programs that benefit young women and youth, girls. Gail serves on the board of the Girls Golf Program in England, Young Black Women's Society in Massachusetts, and so the President Council of the Urban College of Boston. And just recently, over the last year, became the president of the executive board of the Massachusetts Women's Political Caucus. Gail.
I'll tell you, this is a bad hair day for sure. Especially with brain. And I'm sure you can identify with what we're talking about. Good evening, everyone. As Mary said, I am Gail Jackson Plum, and I'm very excited to be here. I am the board president of the Massachusetts Women's Political Caucus, and the mission of our organization is to help identify women and help introduce them We also help them with their campaign. Our program, our organization is a very, very small staff, but we are very, very powerful in the work that we do. Because we have not only the support of our team, of a very strong board of directors, but we also work very closely with our local legislators, with the local town and select people, and we believe that every woman, has a voice. Every woman has an opportunity to make a difference in her community. And as all of you know, that as women, 9 times out of 10, a lot of the responsibilities for our households, for the things that happen, that impact our lives and the lives of our families, they fall on us. And so why is it that women don't feel, or some women don't feel that they have an opportunity to make a difference in their community? And I think that, of a lot of the women who have run for political office, unfortunately over the years, women of color have been the ones who have not stepped up and said, you know what, I have a voice, and I'm going to make a difference. And so today we are so proud that we have the highest number of women, and women of color, specifically, in Massachusetts, who are in public office. And so I am so thrilled about the work that the Women of Color Coalition is doing, and as Mary mentioned, last year when she and I met, and Celia and I had also talked about the development of this organization, and I was so excited that this was going to be one of the areas of focus would be around women in politics and advocacy, because it's so important to, I think, to strengthen our communities and the development of our society and our country. And I tell you, I cannot tell you how infuriating it is when you turn on the television these days and you see a group of men, and excuse me, but a group of white men making decisions about women, our reproductive rights, or what we're going to do with our bodies. I'm talking about our current administration. Just so you know. But those are the kinds of things that I think are just absolutely ridiculous. And that we are living in a society right now when we have the most educated women ever, in our history. We are the ones who are, majority of us, we are leading our households. We are educating our children. And why is it that we don't have a seat sitting at the table making decisions about the things that impact our lives? So that's why I'm very proud to be in the position that I'm in. I'm in my second year. I've been on the board of Massachusetts Political Caucus. Throughout my career, I've worked in and out of government. And I think since a young child, I grew up in Roxbury. And as a young child, I always felt, I was always angry about the things that I would see in my community. You would go to other neighborhoods with the white picket fence and the beautiful streets, driving down the streets with no potholes, and the derelicts on the street, the drug addicts in the corners. I said, why do we have to live like this? And so at a young age, I made a decision that I was going to become actively involved. I'm not the person out there on the front line making the decision, but I was fortunate enough that my mom sort of encouraged me to pursue what I love doing, which was writing and journalism. And I'm able today to use my talents to make a difference, but behind the scenes. And so, as in this role as the president of the Massachusetts Political Caucus, I help, shape the vision and the decision that impact what we do, how we reach out to people, and that's why we're here tonight as well, why I was invited to come here. Because one of the things that I realized is that if we're going to be a statewide organization, if we're true to our name and our mission, that we also need to be connecting and reaching out. And so we are developing committees across the state. We have a committee in the Berkshires, we have one in the Newburyport area, we have one on the Cape Cod, we're working with a group down as well on the islands, on the Martha's Vineyard Islands. And we also have a group in formation now in Worcester, and then we're going to be working on the Merrimack Valley and in Western Mass. And so, in fact, last night Celia and I were at an event, for the kickoff for another organization. And my goal is to make sure that every single thing that we do, every meeting we go to, that we have women of color as part of that group. I'm tired of going to meetings and going to forums, and I'm the only one. When you look around and you can count, out of 200 people, you can count on one hand or less than two hands. And it doesn't make any sense. And I think as a society, as a community, we have to step up. And I think I'm preaching to the department, which you guys would not be here tonight. You know, if you weren't here, if you weren't already on board. So that I want you board. But we plan on, continuing strengthening our relationship with the Women of Color Coalition, making sure that everything that we do, that you guys know about it. Last year we had a national convention that came to Massachusetts, and I know that Mary sent information out to the committee to let you know about it, where we had our women coming from all over the country, to talk about issues that impact our lives and the lives of our families. And so we will continue to do that, just partner with, with other women's organizations like the Women's Suffrage and, the Latina Circle, so we wanted to make sure that we're connecting and that we are making our resources available and opportunities available for all of you. And so, on that note, I'm going to wrap it up. But I just want to say that if you have an interest in running for office, you know someone who's interested in running for office, please check out our website, contact our office. We have information up here available for everyone to take. And again, it's the Massachusetts Women's Political Caucus. And thank you very much, and good luck.
We have other national material also on the table, but she will be here for the evening. We want to make sure at the end of the evening that we leave enough time for you to get to know each other. I know that you're sitting in tables where you don't have a chance to meet others, but I hope that after everyone introduces themselves, that you will all take an opportunity to at least meet someone from one of the other towns. The next person that I want to bring, our president, and Celia. But before I do that, I do want to just also recognize a young woman who just joined us, and mainly because she is a newly elected counselor here in Randolph, ran the first time, and also ran townwide and won. And her name is wanted to step in after my husband passed, who was a counselor in town, but he had made a decision he was not going to run again. And he said, and he and I, and a group of members of his committee, was thinking about who we would look at to run within Randolph. And at that time, we didn't know Natasha. And Natasha only got a chance to meet Paul for a short moment before he passed. But I have to say, she stepped up to the plate. She brought out the Haitian community and others. So I know by watching her that those of you in towns where you may be in a precinct or in a district, that you in fact can do statewide or townwide, and when you have individuals that are behind you. I ask that you also think about what Gail has said. There's resources and opportunities that are out there that can help you in your town. Please make sure you reach out. Please don't leave here this evening without connecting with one another, because if there is a program or an initiative that's going on in your town and you're looking for support, I'm one of those people that believe that you reach out to others and say, oh gee, you know what? Rockland's doing this. This town's doing this, and they're similar to us. Or Quincy's doing this. So I just think about it in terms of building your coalition amongst one another, and then hopefully you'll continue to support and continue to grow. But I'm going to bring up the president, Celia Blue, with a group of other women, and their names are all on the program, got together and said, very similar to what Shioma had talked about and what Gail talked about. It is time for women of color to come together and work with each other and try to make a difference. And if there is ever a time in our history when our democracy is being questioned, civil rights continues to be an issue, justice for all continues to be a challenge. This is our time to step up. So when I decided to be on the platform of politics, it really was about how do we make sure ensure that women are in leadership positions that can challenge their counterparts across the table when policies and money is being discussed. So when Celia asked me, because then as I retired, I said, I don't have any more time, I don't have any more energy, I don't have any more patience. To step into this particular role and be on the board, it was hard for me to say no. She and I worked together in transportation, a very male-dominated industry, and oftentimes we would talk about that. So when she decided to work with the women in Springfield and others to do this, I had to say yes. So it gives me a pleasure to bring out Celia Room. I'm going to, I think I don't have to go on and talk about all the things Celia does, but it is important to know that she was our registrar for administration, and now Rhode Island picked her up and took her away from us. But our goal is to sort of bring her back into Massachusetts and see how we can make this particular organization one of the best, not only in Massachusetts, but in the country.
So it's closer towards getting us to think about it globally. So we're getting there. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here with us this evening. I want to just first recognize the committee for their work in putting this together. Mary Fernandez, who is our platform chair, Martha Asafa, who's our Central Mass Regional Politics Coordinator, Joanne Thompson, and Sharon Artis Jackson. Can you please just stand quickly so we can give you a round of applause? I also want to thank Gail and her team for helping us. We also had some help from Paulette Phillips, Global Communications, who listed us as one of the red hot events that she sent out in the Boston area. We also got help from Donna Gittens, who's the founder and principal of More Advertising, who helped us with our press release and our outreach strategy. So we're just very thankful. We're a volunteer organization, so we need all the help we can get. And I want to give a shout out to those folks, and let's also give them a round of applause, please. We have some of our board members here today, our founding board members. I just want to recognize them quickly. You heard from Shilma and Mary. We have Maria in the corner over there. Can you stand up and wave? We have Joyce, she's always behind.
Oh, well, I would turn the camera around.
We have other members that couldn't make it here today, but I just want to recognize our board. And, we started this thing 3 years ago, and it took about a year to get our vision and our mission and our names and our logo, and we really sat and debated and argued sometimes about what we really wanted to do and focus on, because there's so many areas really that we can focus on. And so we chose these 5 platforms because we felt this would give us the depth and breadth that we needed to really make an impact. Not only here in the Commonwealth, but we really want to keep our eye on the whole global front. So last year, I just want to share a little bit about what we've done. We are advocating for equal pay. We also are advocating for the Millionaires Tax, which goes into education and infrastructure. Last year, we did the Boston Women's March. We did a solidarity rally in Worcester. We also did some work with the City of Worcester Advisory Committee on the status of women. We had one of our first political platforms in Western Mass, where we had city council and education committee candidates. We also partnered with the Association of Black Business and Professionals and St. John's Church, who helped us to put that forum together. And as Gail mentioned, we supported her in her conference last year, and we launched 3 of our 5 platforms. We plan on launching the other 2 this year, and we also had a nice celebration launched the Listening to Girls campaign. We also partnered with the League of Women Voters. We had a session just last week on why women should run. And in fact, I think we have Meryl Kessler here, who's the executive director for the state. If you could just wave. On Saturday, and we also have an author, Caleb Akuno, who's going to be talking with us about his book on the struggle for economic democracy. We also have a high school girls initiative coming up in a couple of weeks in the middle of May in Central Mass. So just some of the things we have going on. We're going strong, and we really hope that you will join our movement. When I was thinking about what to say today, you know, I thought about, my mind went right to April 4th, 1968, when Martin Luther King was shot. And, you know, I watched a lot of the documentaries, and I never get tired of it because he's just such an eloquent speaker, and his words just resonates with us today about how he spoke about poverty levels and the